My friends, let me tell you a story that still shakes me to my core, even after all these years. Picture this. It's a quiet Saturday evening in a little shtetl just outside Moscow, back in the early days of the last century. David, a simple tailor with calloused hands and a kind face, stands by his window, gripping a knife so tight his knuckles turn white. His neighbor Israel has just stolen his last bolt of cloth, the one piece that could have kept his family from starving through the winter. David's heart pounds like a drum in his chest. He raises the knife, ready to storm out and make Israel pay. But then something stops him cold. A chill runs down his spine, not from the wind, but from a memory. His father's voice, soft as a prayer, echoes in his mind. "Don't hold on to grudges, my boy. They're poison in your own blood." David drops the knife. It clatters to the floor. Instead of rage, a strange ache fills him, like a stone settling heavy in his chest. He falls to his knees right there, whispering the words of the Shema, his hands trembling. Why isn't he running after the thief? Why does this old warning feel like it's saving him and breaking him at the same time? David pulls himself up, his legs shaky, and looks around his dim little home. The room is bare, the shelves empty after months of lean times. His wife Sarah sits at the table, tears streaming down her cheeks, while their two young children huddle close, their eyes wide with fear. That stolen cloth wasn't just fabric, it was their hope, their Shabbat dinner for weeks to come. David steps outside into the cool dusk, the dirt path crunching under his boots. The shtetl is hushed, lanterns flickering in other windows, but he feels eyes on him, neighbors whispering behind curtains. And there, across the way, Israel stands in his doorway, bold as you please, a sly smile on his face, like he knows some secret David doesn't. David clenches his fists, but that stone in his chest tightens more. He remembers how he'd always nursed grudges before, small ones, like when a customer shorted him a ruble, or big ones from his boyhood days scraping by in this hard Russian land. Each time, he'd stew and plot, and life just got heavier. But tonight, after the theft, his hands aren't burning with anger. They're numb, worn out from carrying all those old weights. What's this? A strange book on the table catches his eye, his late father's Torah, open to a page he's glanced at 100 times but never really seen. It's the words from Leviticus. "You shall not take vengeance or bear a grudge." David traces the letters with his finger. Why does this feel different now? Israel waves mockingly from his porch as if daring him to come closer. The air grows thick, almost eerie, like the whole village is holding its breath. David wonders, is the real thief out there, or something closer to home, gnawing at him from inside? Each step he takes toward understanding only pulls him deeper into the shadows, where simple truths twist into something far more troubling. Now, as David sits back at that worn Shabbat table, lighting the candles with Sarah's help, the weight of it all settles over him like a heavy shawl. The theft isn't just about one bolt of cloth, it's the breaking point of a lifetime of bottled-up hurts, from the pogroms that chased his family when he was a boy, to the endless arguments with his brothers over scraps of land, to the quiet resentments he's carried like invisible chains. He's always thought grudges kept him strong, made him fight back against a world that kicked Jews like him when they were down. But tonight, staring at the flickering flames, he sees the truth peeking through. Those grudges have been stealing his strength day by day, turning his home into a place of whispers and worry. His children look at him with eyes that beg for answers, and Sarah squeezes his hand, her face lined with the same exhaustion he feels. The scale of it hits him. This isn't just his burden, it's poisoning everything he loves. "Why?" David mutters to himself, his voice barely above a whisper. "Why have I clung to these grudges all my life, letting them eat away at my days like rust on iron? And how can this ancient don't hold a grudge, possibly tip the balance back, give me the long life my father always promised through our traditions?" I promise you, dear listeners, if David can face this first shadow and let it go, you'll uncover the deeper secrets of 3 old Jewish warnings that have kept souls steady for generations. They're like scales, weighing the heart against what shortens our time here. But as David rises, steeling himself to confront Israel not with a knife, but with words of forgiveness, he steps into the night and stumbles upon a whispered lie in the shadows of the synagogue. A false witness accuses him of debts he never owed, and in the heat, David lies right back to shield himself. That single word, spoken in haste, swings the scales the wrong way, pulling him toward dangers he never imagined. What happens when the second don't reveals itself? Hold on, it's just beginning. David takes a deep breath, the cool night air filling his lungs as he walks that short path to Israel's door. No knife, no shouts, just the weight of his father's words pushing him forward. He knocks, and when Israel opens up, that smug look fades a bit. "Israel," David says steadily, his voice calm like the still water in the village well. "I forgive you for the cloth. Take it if you must, but let this end here. No grudges between us." Israel's eyes widen. He expected a fight, not this. After a long moment, he steps aside, muttering something about hard times, and hands back the bolt, even adding a few coins from his pocket. "You're a better man than me, David," he says, almost ashamed. David walks home lighter, the stone in his chest cracking just a little. Sarah's face lights up when he shows her the cloth, and the children cheer, imagining warm coats and full bellies. For the first time in months, the Shabbat candles seem to burn brighter. David thinks to himself, "See, letting go of that grudge worked. Life's turning around already." He sits with his father's old book that night, flipping pages by lamplight, and finds a passage that feels like it was waiting for him. From the Ethics of the Fathers, a whisper about not lying to your own heart. Could this be the next step? He shares a bit with Sarah over tea the next morning, and she nods, her hand on his. The minyan at the synagogue even calls him to lead the prayers. Folks are talking, saying David's become wise overnight. He starts sewing again, the needle flying through fabric like hope through dark days. A customer pays extra, word spreads of his fairness, and for a week it feels like the scales are tipping in his favor. No more shadows, just the simple rhythm of life returning. David dares to believe. This first don't open the door. Honesty with myself will keep it wide. But oh, my friends, life has a way of testing us just when we think we've won. David's brother Haim, that sharp-tongued merchant who's always chased the quick coin, hears about the returned cloth and comes knocking one afternoon, his eyes greedy as a fox in the henhouse. "Brother," Haim says with a grin, "you've got luck now. Share some, remember our old promises? That fabric's partly mine from Father's days." David pauses, the words from the book echoing. Don't lie to yourself about what's right. He knows Haim's twisting the truth. There were no such promises, just Haim's endless wants. But instead of speaking plain, David hedges, saying, "We'll talk shares later," buying time with a half-truth to avoid the fight. It seems harmless, a small bend to keep peace in the family. Haim leaves satisfied, and David pushes on, sewing orders piling up, the home filling with the smell of fresh bread. Sarah bakes with the extra coins. Yet cracks start showing, whispers in the market. Haim's been telling tales, saying David hoards wealth and lies about debts to the community lenders. By evening, 2 elders from the synagogue arrive, stern-faced, demanding repayment for loans David swears he never took. Loans Haim must have invented in his stories. David's plan unravels like a poorly stitched seam. He confronts Haim at the edge of the shtetl, where the fields meet the forest, but his brother laughs it off. "You lie to yourself, David, thinking forgiveness fixes everything. I've always known your soft heart hides weakness." The blow lands hard, not just the accusation, but the mirror it holds up. David realizes his own white lie to Haim has snowballed. Now the whole community doubts him, and collectors are at his door, threatening to take the very cloth he just got back. The stakes soar. It's not his grudge anymore that's the enemy. It's the deeper deception he's fed himself for years, pretending family ties could bend truth without breaking. His children ask why Papa's friends have turned away, and Sarah weeps, saying the home feels cursed. David sees the iceberg now. That first "don't" was just the surface. The real danger threatens not just him, but the life he's rebuilt, pulling his loved ones into the cold depths. No more half measures. He vows to face it head on, confessing every hidden untruth, even if it means losing everything. But as he steels himself for that risky path, a chill wind whispers that the cost might be more than he can bear. Gathering every ounce of courage, David heads to the next minyan at dawn, the synagogue filled with murmuring voices like bees in a hive. He stands before the ark, the Torah scrolls gleaming in the morning light, and pours out his soul. No more hiding. "Brothers," he says, his voice steady despite the tremor in his hands, "I've lied to myself about my brother Haim, about debts that weren't mine, about thinking small bends in truth wouldn't snap. Forgive me, as I forgave the grudge against Israel." The room falls silent, then a few nod, Haim slinking in the back with a scowl. David presses on, quoting the ancient words, "The truth shall make you free," but twists it to his fight, admitting how his self-deceptions poisoned the well of trust. It's a desperate clash, words flying like sparks from flint. Haim jumps up, shouting lies of his own, accusing David of weakness that endangers the family name. The elders waver, some siding with blood, others with honesty. David digs deep, revealing a hidden letter from their father that proves Haim's greed, not debts, drove the tales. The minyan sways, arguments heat up, voices overlapping like thunder. In the end, they rule for David. Haim is shamed, ordered to make amends, and the false debts are cleared. The community rallies, even bringing food to David's door that night. He holds Sarah close, the children laughing again, thinking he's won the day. "See," he tells her, relief washing over him. "Facing the lie head-on saved us." But victory has a bitter edge, my friends. In the struggle, Haim whispers poison to the children, tales of their father's soft ways leading nowhere, promising them an easier life in the city with him, away from the shtetl's hardships. By morning, the boy and girl are gone, slipped away with Haim's cart, leaving a note. "Papa, we want better than this struggle." David's triumph crumbles to dust. The home echoes empty, Sarah's sobs the only sound. He's confessed, fought, and won. But at what price? The family he fought for is torn apart, the scales tipped not to balance, but to crush him further. He wanders to the riverbank alone, the water rushing like his regrets, and sinks to his knees. "All is lost," he whispers to the empty sky. "These old warnings, they demand too much. What's left to hold on to now?" The darkness closes in, heavier than any grudge or lie, leaving him broken with no light in sight. But wait, sometimes in the deepest night, a spark waits to ignite. David sits there by the rushing river, the water's murmur mocking his broken dreams as the sun dips low and paints the sky in fading golds. Hours pass like days. He's numb, the emptiness in his home echoing louder than any shout. Sarah's face haunts him, pale with worry, and his children's laughter feels like a distant memory from another life. What good are these old warnings? He thinks, his voice lost in the wind. Forgive the grudge, and I lose my neighbor's trust? Speak truth to myself, and my brother scatters my family? All I've done is chase shadows, and now the light's gone out. He picks up a stone, heavy as his heart, and hurls it into the current, watching it sink without a ripple. The weight of it all crushes him. Years of grudges he thought armored him, lies he told to smooth the rough edges, and now this pull toward easy fixes that tore everything apart. Surrender whispers close. Why fight when the scales always tip against you? But in that deepest dark, as the first stars prick the twilight, a faint memory stirs, like a candle flicker in a drafty room. It's his father's voice again, from long ago Sabbaths, reciting from the ethics of the fathers. The patient path is the one that endures. Easy roads lead to pitfalls. David straightens, the words connecting like threads in a tapestry he'd overlooked. The grudges were shortcuts to anger, the lies a dodge from hard truths, and Haim's promises to the children? Just another lure of quick ease. The real balance, the scales of a long life, comes from the third don't. Don't chase easy paths, for they erode the soul like a flash flood washes away foundations. It's not about speed or comfort, it's the steady drop that carves the stone, as the proverb goes. Epiphany washes over him, clear as the river's bend. To reclaim his family, he can't storm the city or beg Haim's mercy. No, the true way is patient persistence, returning to the roots of honest work, rebuilding trust stitch by stitch, showing the children that enduring paths yield the deepest rewards. Risky, yes. Haim's grip is tight and time slips away, but it's his last stand, the only path that honors the ancient wisdom. With renewed fire in his chest, David rises, dusts off his coat, and heads home to Sarah. We'll go together, he tells her, not with force, but with the quiet strength our people have always known. The scales will balance if we walk the hard road true. The next morning breaks crisp and determined, David and Sarah setting out on foot toward the city, a simple bundle of his sewing tools slung over his shoulder. No grand plan, just the resolve to show, not tell. The road winds through forests and fields, each step a reminder of patience's toll. But David's mind races with purpose. By midday they reach the outskirts, the bustle of wagons and merchants, a stark contrast to the shtetl's quiet. Word of Haim's doings has spread even here. A kindly shopkeeper points them to his lodging, a cramped room above a tavern. David knocks firmly, and when Haim answers, surprise turns to sneer. Come to beg, brother? Your wisdom lost you everything. The children peek from behind, their faces torn, excited by city lights, but missing home's warmth. The confrontation ignites like dry tinder. Haim bars the door, spinning tales of David's failures, promising the kids sweets and schools if they stay on his easy path. David stands firm, his voice rising with the stakes. Haim, you've lured them with shortcuts, quick coins, false comforts, but look what it's cost. Our father taught us. The easy way is a rope that tightens around your neck. Haim laughs, shoving David back, and the room spins into chaos. Sarah pleads with the children, who waver, one grabbing her skirt while the other clings to Haim's promise of toys. The swings come fast. Haim offers a bribe, a share of his dealings if David leaves quietly, tempting him toward that forbidden ease. David falters for a heartbeat, the old lie whispering to take it, but he recalls the epiphany. No more shortcuts. He pulls out the father's old letter, reading aloud the words on perseverance, how it prolonged their ancestors' days through trials. The children listen, eyes widening as Haim's bluster cracks. His own life, built on easy schemes, shows the wear. Debts piling, friends fled. Sarah shares a story from their youth, of Haim skipping studies for games, always chasing the swift win. The air thickens with tension. Haim lunges to grab the letter, but David holds ground, quoting Torah. Choose life, that you and your children may live. A neighbor bursts in, drawn by the noise, and sides with David. Haim's reputation here is mud. The boy tugs free from Haim, running to his father. The girl follows, tears flowing. Haim slumps, defeated, the fight draining from him like air from a punctured bellows. Take them, he mutters, "but you'll regret the hard road." David gathers his family, the victory clear and hard won. No illusions, just the scales tipping toward endurance. As they walk back, hand in hand, the sun high and forgiving, David knows the third don't has sealed it. Easy paths would have lost them forever. This patient reclaiming balances the soul, promising days stretched long by truth. In the quiet days that follow, the dust of the struggle settles like dew on morning grass. David returns to his tailoring, the bolt of cloth now a symbol of mended bonds, stitching not just garments, but the fabric of trust. Chaim slinks back to the shtetl eventually, humbled, offering a real apology over a shared meal. No more lies between brothers. Sarah's smiles return, warmer, and the children, chastened by their brief adventure, cling closer, asking questions about the old stories that saved them. Weeks turn to months, the home filling with laughter and the scent of challah on Fridays. David ages, but not with the weariness he once carried. His steps are surer, his eyes brighter, as if the scales have evened out the burdens. Years pass, through harsh winters and hopeful springs, and David lives into his 80s, a pillar of the minyan, sharing the 3 don'ts at every gathering. Don't hold grudges, for they poison the blood. Don't lie to yourself, for truth is the steady thread. And don't seek easy paths, for patience carves the enduring way. The shtetl thrives under his quiet influence, families stronger, grudges fewer. He's changed, my friends, not into a hero of grand tales, but a man whose heart, once heavy with stones, now holds light like the Sabbath candles he lights each week. And in his final years, sitting with grandchildren on his knee, he traces the scales of justice in the air, whispering how these ancient warnings prolonged not just his life, but the lives woven around him. The river still flows nearby, but now it's a companion, reminding him of the drop that shapes the stone. As the sun sets on his story, David looks out, peaceful, the balance held true, a life extended by the wisdom that turns trials to timeless strength. With the family safely gathered once more around the Shabbat table, the air in David's home hums with a gentle peace, the kind that follows a long rain. Candles flicker softly, casting warm glows on the faces of Sarah and the children, now settled back into routines with stories of their city frights turning to lessons learned. Chaim even joins them one evening, awkward but sincere, sharing a modest gift from his travels. No grand reconciliation, just a quiet nod across the table. David leans back in his chair, a rare smile easing the lines on his face, and thinks to himself, "At last the storm has passed, the grudges lifted, the lies confessed, the easy lures resisted. Our life is balanced again, like the scales our sages spoke of, and the days ahead stretch out steady and true." The shtetl feels whole, neighbors calling on him for advice, the river's song outside a lullaby of endurance. For the first time, David sleeps without that old ache, waking to birdsong and the promise of simple joys. It seems the story has found its end, the 3 don'ts a shield that prolonged his years and mended what was torn. Ah, but my dear friends, sometimes the calm is but a breath before the wind shifts, revealing what the heart has hidden all along. In that serene moment, as David blows out the candles and steps into the cool night, a stray thought catches him like a thorn in his sleeve. He pauses by the window, gazing at the stars, and replays the whole ordeal: the theft by Israel, the betrayal from Chaim, the children's flight. At first, it all fits neatly. External foes testing his resolve, the ancient warnings as his guide to victory. But then, a quiet realization pierces through, sharp as a needle's point. It wasn't about Israel or Chaim at all, those outward thieves and tempters. And it wasn't even truly about reclaiming the cloth or the family in that frantic rush. No, the real enemy, the one that had been devouring David's life from the inside for decades, was his own shadow. The deep-rooted habit of clinging to grudges like a drowning man to driftwood, whispering lies to himself to avoid the mirror of his flaws, and always veering toward easy paths that promised relief but delivered chains. The outside world, the shtetl's hardships, his brother's greed, the children's doubts, had merely reflected that inner battle, magnifying it like sunlight on water until it threatened to drown him entirely. Suddenly, the events twist in his mind. The theft wasn't just Israel's doing, it was David's unhealed grudges from years past that blinded him to the village's shared struggles, making enemies where there were only desperate souls. Haim's lies echoed David's own self-deceptions, the ones he'd buried under family pride, pretending his shortcuts in work and words didn't erode trust bit by bit. And the children's escape? Not Haim's lure alone, but David's failure to model the patient way early on, letting easy resentments seep into the home like damp through walls. Every victory he'd claimed, the forgiveness, the confession, the patient return, had been hard-won not against others, but against this silent saboteur within. The scales, those Jewish symbols of justice from our Torah, weren't balancing external weights. They were weighing his soul against its own deceptions, and only by facing that truth did his life extend, spared from the slow poison of ignored shadows. David sinks to a chair, the weight of this new sight both crushing and freeing, as if years of fog have lifted to show the path he truly walked all along. And in that instant of clarity, David's tale stops being just one man's quiet fight in a forgotten Russian shtetl. It becomes a mirror for us all, reflecting the battles we wage not with neighbors or kin, but in the quiet chambers of our own hearts. What if the most dangerous foe we face through all our years, the one that truly shortens our time here, isn't the people or troubles around us, but these hidden habits we refuse to name, the grudges we nurse in silence, the truths we bend to feel safe, the easy escapes we chase for fleeting peace? The answer to that, my friends, is the heart of what this story truly offers, a wisdom as old as our people, waiting to balance your own scales if you'll only look within. But what came next for David wasn't the end of his journey. It was the beginning of seeing why paths like his unfold the way they do, and how the same forces pull at all of us in our quieter struggles. Think about it. Have you ever paused in your own life after a family rift or a hard choice and wondered why we keep circling back to the same pains, the same shortcuts that leave us weary? That's the thread running through this tale, one our ancient teachers in the Talmud wove so carefully, yet so few of us truly grasp today. I share this not as some lofty lesson from books, but from my own long years, born in Odessa, carrying those Russian winters in my bones before finding home in Haifa. What David uncovered, and what I've seen echo in countless lives, is a secret most overlooked amid the noise of daily cares. It's not about the big battles with others. It's the subtle ways we betray our own peace, letting habits steal our vitality drop by drop. Listen close now, because here's the revelation that ties it all together, the one that can shift how you face your tomorrows. The three ancient Jewish don'ts. Don't hold grudges that fester like unspoken poison. Don't lie to yourself about your shadows to dodge the discomfort. And don't chase easy paths that crumble under weight. They're more than rules. They're the scales of the soul, weighing what drains life against what sustains it. Our sages knew these habits aren't just mistakes. They're the hidden laws of the heart, where unchecked grudges shorten breath with bitterness. Self-lies erode trust like water on stone, and easy lures trade depth for fleeting highs, cutting years from the ledger. David's life prolonged not by fighting foes, but by tipping those scales toward truth, releasing the grudge to free his energy, facing the lie to rebuild bonds, choosing the patient road to nurture lasting joy. And the same holds for you and me, my friends. In every quiet resentment we nurse at family tables, every white fib we tell to soften our regrets, every temptation to skip the hard talk for quick fixes. We all walk that circle until we name it, balancing inward to extend the good days we've earned. So, what hidden don't are you tipping against yourself right now? The grudge, the self-lie, or the easy escape? And what small step could realign your scales today? Ponder that as the candles dim. Stories like this, drawn from our timeless wisdom to light up the paths we share, we explore together here often. To catch the next one that might just steady your own heart, you know the way.